I'm on my break right now, but let me tell you something. If you're doing a YouTube show, be sure to get YouTube Studio and put your own photos up there, because they got some guy at Google that basically just does a freeze frame of your mouth open, like, you know, like you're like about to take a bite or trying to like talk or something. You're doing this basically. That's like the whole time. My suggestion is just to change it. So change it to your own version of your headshot or whatever on your thumbnail. So watch your thumbnails. You can go through YouTube Studio, which is a separate app. That's what I do. By the way, I got a drink where I'm at right now. It's basically, you can't really see it, but it's Diet Coke. Hey, Cole here, Cole Spivey, please subscribe show. This is it. So this is where Oliver Stone did some follow-up shooting for Born on the 4th of July, directed by Oliver Stone. So this happened probably, I'm trying to get the exact time on that movie. I want to say 89, but it was probably filmed in 88 or 87, 1987. So I didn't start going to Pascal High School until probably 1990-ish, around that time, when I was about 17. So the movie had already come out about a year, so I'd say about 87. And that's right there, known as the Hop, also known as Aardvark, which they're just now revitalizing. They're revitalizing, repurposing. Okay, so this is way larger than what the Hop used to be. There's a couple of tables right over here. The stage is about right there. And there, the tables are right over there. Now, what they did was, my friend Rob was directed by Oliver Stone, and this is basically, he was told to walk kind of by these other hippies, or like hippie setup. I don't know exactly where Tom Cruise was, but you'll notice there is this thing right here. He's at the top right here. This was the front entrance of the Hop right here. This door right here. So I don't know exactly what those scenes look like, because there's a real good chance those scenes ended up on the editing floor, but we don't know for sure. I have to go back, like I said, and rewatch the movie over and over again to see if they did at least one shot or one filming location, or one Oliver Stone did one little scene. You'll see right here, that actually says Aardvark. You can barely read it, but it says BBQ because they did barbecue, but you'll see Aardvark right there. Right under that is live music. You can only see the IC. If you go around the other side, you'll see live music there. Bands like Trio of One played here. Toadie's probably heard about it. Whether Toadie's played here or not, I'm not for sure, but it would have been probably the Aardvark. It was a swing dancing place when I was younger. So you could go there to swing dance, and they do live music. You can see it right here. And this is right on Westbury. 2900 is across, well, on the other side is 2900 Westbury. 2900 is across, well, on the other side is 2900 Westbury. But I'll try to go out here on the other side to kind of show you. So, like I said, it probably ended up on the editing floor, but there were follow-up shots. My theory on the matter was it was mostly for box office sales. Because if they did do scenes at SMU area, which they did do, SMU areas, that's published, then they probably did a few scenes in Fort Worth to win over more box office sales. So people were like, oh, that scene was filmed in Fort Worth, blah, blah. Well, whether or not, I mean, only people like Stone, Oliver Stone would know. Tom Cruise would probably remember if they used him in that scene. Let me get a further shot over this way. This is actually Fort Worth area, but it's already been published that the Dallas area was used, SMU area was used for like Ron Kovic's, if it's pronounced Kovic. He was the anti-war protester that was shot during Vietnam and was rescued by a soldier, and he was pulled out of battle, and the rest of his life he had to spend in a wheelchair because it paralyzed him. You can see it back here, way up here. Only they would probably know, or if we can kind of, if you venture through the movie, if you look through the movie, you might see something similar. So they're repurposing all of this right here, right where this huge tree is. I don't know for sure if that tree was that size back in 88, 87. Probably they filmed 87, 88 probably, and they released the movie in 1989. It's Oliver Stone movie with Tom Cruise. But anyway, this is probably was used right here, this whole section. Probably the outside. Now that used to have glass, so they're repurposing the glass here. You see? So there was probably glass with a small bar. Like I said, when I was younger, they used it mostly for like swing dancing. You could they had live music. There were bands like Trio of One. Was a pretty popular band. Toadies may have like hung out there. I don't know if they played. They probably did. Toadies probably played there, but it was mostly for live music, and that was where you would go if you had a band in the area. One of my friends had a band called Lollipop, and they performed there. I think I saw them, and they never signed, but there is a lot of little bands that did get signed. There was another live venue for music called Dog Star, which was named, I want to say maybe named after Keanu and River Phoenix's band, but it was right across the street, and that was called Dog Star, but that wasn't used. This one was the one that was used right here, because it had like a hippie feel, like an old house of pizza. That's what the hop stood for, House of Pizza. That was back in probably the 80s. Throughout maybe like mid-85, maybe like 1984. Like I said, if you had a band, you'd probably, pull your van back here. Punk bands did play there, so there was a few punk bands as well. So if you had like a local punk band, it was popular maybe to play their swing dancing bands. They had that, mostly like alternative music. Trio of One was kind of almost folk, but it was, Trio of One was kind of like, this is probably where you would bring all the equipment in back here. But Trio of One was probably like, they were like Crowded House. Have you ever heard of Crowded House? This is probably another section of the House of Pizza. But that's where we hung out. I saw bands there in high school, 1990. Then a friend of mine that I met, I was writing screenplays, and I got like really obsessed with Martin Scorsese. I came in one time in the drama room because I was in the drama department at Pascal. This is like right around when Taylor Sheridan graduated, who wrote Hell and High Water. He was actually there when we were there, but we didn't know him. But he went off, came in a movie star and then a screenplay writer more. But I went in the classroom one day. I said, man, I saw this crazy movie called Taxi Driver. And I said, it was written by this guy named Scorsese. And then I heard this voice say, Scorsese. And I said, what? I looked over, it was this long-haired Hispanic guy, half Hispanic, half Italian. And that was the playwright, Rob. Later on in life, I would perform for a few of his plays, and we would share about a good 10 years, a good decade of sharing. Bluetooth kicked in. Bluetooth, oh, Bluetooth. We'd spend time sending emails to each other of plays that we wrote, mostly focusing on plays. We were big fans of Sam Shepard, although I found Sam Shepard from a woman named Miriam at Texas Wesleyan University, because when I went to Texas Wesleyan, we did a thing called Steppin' Out, which was a showcase. And I decided to do Red Cross with Marion. And Marion introduced me to Sam Shepard. Didn't know who Sam Shepard was. But anyway, that's what we based a lot of our style on when we were writing. And we would share emails together. And we did screenplays, a lot of screenplays. We were big Martin Scorsese fans. Anyway, right here, if you look right here, that's the hop. Born on the 4th of July. But I was just telling you that story because I had a writer friend that told me that, and he was directed by Oliver Stone. Later on, I would venture off to Hollywood, and I'd be directed by Frank Darabont, who did The Majestic. He also did a little movie called Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile, which is, according to Google, Shawshank Redemption is the all-time greatest movie of all times. I don't really know. I put Taxi Driver above that. But anyway, that's what it was. And I'm headed to the Speedway, and that'll be today's thing. So it says, God... What does that say? Oh, seek. Seek God's kingdom. Luke something. This is at the St. Paul Lutheran Church and School. Seek God's kingdom. So Ron Kovic from the 4th of July was actually an anti-war protester. So he was similar to Oliver Stone, because Oliver Stone got back from Vietnam and realized that the war kind of messed him up because of the drug influence that he had. So Born on the 4th of July, in a way, is kind of an anti-drug film, but it's mostly a protester against war. Platoon shows a lot of the drug use that was going on in Vietnam at the time, with soldiers doing a lot of drugs, and that carried over throughout the year, because the 60s and 70s were a time of the baby boom generation. They abused a lot of drugs. There was a lot of drugs because there were a lot of people. But Vietnam had a major problem with it. The VC used it as weaponry, and the soldiers used it to feel better and to escape the war. So when Oliver Stone came back, he came back and realized that he had lost the war, because we lost Vietnam. We could not beat Vietnam. We were not able to beat them, because you cannot dig something out of the ground that's pretty much already there, because they had already dug the tunnels in World War II, and they couldn't go through all those tunnels and dig everything up. And the bombs didn't really work. They bombed Cambodia. They tried everything. They tried everything. They killed more innocent people probably than VC. And it was, the My Lai massacre was not just murder, but it was rape. The soldiers became very evil, and they brought that evil back to the country. Evil was brought back to the country to corrupt the country and to try to find more war, to fuel the fire of war. And that's been going on for quite a bit of time. Remember, I witnessed 9/11, so I saw what happened in 9/11, and that was a war. That day when you were in New York City, you were at war. That was war, and that was a form of war. You had to think on your feet. You had to think about survival, and I was very close. I was close enough to the buildings to die. Now, with Born on the 4th of July, what we realize is that Ron came back and not only hated war, but he hated the country. He hated America. And he was not only belittled by other people, but other soldiers that fought in World War II or Korean War, especially World War II, shamed him, told him basically that he was no good and he lost the war, and they didn't care about his injury and his handicap. He not only represented handicapped people, though that were in the situation that he was in, being paralyzed and all that stuff, but he also represented soldiers that were wounded, that could no longer really function in society. And he did get hooked on drugs, and he did continue to protest against war. And that's pretty much what Oliver Stone wrote about when he came back from Vietnam. Platoon is kind of an anti-war film, not as much as Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket is a very anti-war film. It's a anti-war film. It's film, but it's anti-war film. Full Metal Jacket is kind of more documentary style, as Platoon is more narrative, and you're getting the narrative from the beginning. You are getting that somewhat in Platoon as well. You're also getting a narrative. Both are based on accounts of Vietnam, but one is a narrative book called, Full Metal Jacket was from a book called Lifers. Short Timers, sorry. Lifers is mentioned, but it's Short Timers is the book that Full Metal Jacket's based on. Platoon is based on real accounts of Vietnam. It's almost an autobiography in a way, but he changed the names to a certain degree. He didn't call himself Oliver Stone, but Charlie Sheen was playing a version of Oliver Stone in a way. Now, when we go to Born on the 4th of July, that's almost autobiography with Ron Kovic. It's representing Ron Kovic's life when he came back from the war, from Vietnam. It's a pretty good movie. It's a pretty good movie. It's not Oliver Stone's claim to fame. It's not the one that they they say claim to fame, that's going to be Platoon and JFK maybe. But Born on the 4th of July is a big deal, and a lot of people have heard about it. And it did do well at the box office, and it's one of Tom Cruise's, I'd say probably one of his best work. You know, Rain Man 2 and maybe Magnolia. But I'd say Tom Cruise did really well, and Ron Kovic. It changed me when I saw it. So did JFK. Everybody knew that, like when I was a kid, we went and saw all the movies we could. I mean, we'd sneak into movies. We'd do anything to get into the movie theater. We'd do anything. That was our goal. We went to school and we went to the movies. And screenplays or something, we would go and write on our own. We'd go to the library and check out Sid Field books and try to write better screenplays. This was high school. We really did this. We made a indie film in my mom's house off of Willing Avenue that was based on like Bergman style, called Blue Season, that got my friend Brandon Carter into NYU, wherever Brandon is. Hey Brandon, you know. But we did this kind of stuff, you know. So Born on the 4th of July was a lot of talk around Pascal, because according to Rob, he was supposed to be in it, you know, just as an extra, but still big deal. It's a great little movie. Check it out. And that's probably much all I'm going to have for you today. I got a lot of black vlog. I'm sorry. I can't believe I just said that. Oh, man. I'm a little tired. I got a lot of back vlog. Back vlog is when I've got a lot of vlog on back order. I remember seeing Jordan Lyons live stream where he's like, I've got all these vlogs lined up. I could take a week off, you know. Back vlog.